Welcome one and all to the Fantasy Football Podcast. Now, this is the podcast where Matt and I will talk about things about the league.
Tentatively titled the Cinema Peeps Podcast. It's the one we're going with right now.
Yes, because people like me cannot decide on what a good name should be. So,
Yes.
what did I say? I was like, man, what we should name this podcast is just the Fantasy Football Podcast.
That's dumb. It has no originality. If anyone out there has any ideas for a better name, please let us know.
Yes, and one thing that we do know is that we can definitely say that I don't know how to name people.
Yeah.
God forbid that I have a child and I'll probably name a male a female name or some bullshit like that.
You'll name your child like David.
That would be easy.
Yeah.
That would be really easy. But
Just keep adding syllables on the beginning of your name.
oh my God, you were a genius.
Yeah.
A genius, I say. All right, so let's get in. So this is week one. This is actually the pre-week, before everything starts.
Pre-draft week. So, David and I are in a league with a bunch of our friends here in Sonoma County. We're making this mainly for people in our league, but I think there's a potential that other people can listen to it too. And so what I want to do is I really want to make sure that this isn't just strictly to our league.
No.
I think it's kind of a good idea. Like, we're going to go through the keepers that we all selected. We play in a 10-team keeper league where we each keep 3 players. So we're going to go through the players, who they all kept, and I'm going to tell you our opinions on them.
Yeah, and you may hear us say some names of people in our league. Don't be afraid. This is for everybody. We're going to talk about players and how they are doing and what you should be looking for. What is our strategies, even though some of us have been known to be champions of our leagues and others have been known to be the below the shit.
The bitch.
The bitch. Yes, and let me tell you guys, that's me, by the way.
Okay, so I guess, just for other people, we'll say kind of what our league is. It's we got 1 quarterback, and I think
A standard.
standard scoring, the quarterback is a little bit, I think for every 200 yards, it's like once they get a point for every 20 yards. I think that's what it is. And then we have 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and then we have 2 flex spots, which is kind of unusual.
But one of those flex spots is a
Yeah.
straight up flex, and the other one's just a running back and wide receiver.
Yeah. And then we have a kicker, obviously defense, tight end, 1 tight end. And then we have an independent defensive player.
And that's going to be the very most interesting part about this year.
Yeah.
It's because in our league, this is our first time as a whole we've actually done with a defensive player. So one thing I was afraid of when we drafted, I was like, dude, if we have an extra player in there, because with having a quarterback having more times or more chances to score more points, I was really afraid to bring more points into the league because I thought maybe possibly it could actually break the league as a whole. But you guys reassured me that, hey, the defensive players don't really score all that many points. And so it's going to be really interesting to see where our year goes from there.
Yeah, so, our league is only a few years old. I think it's 3 years old, and it's our first year doing keepers. So we're carrying over, players. So we're going to briefly go through them. So let's go ahead and start off. What do you want to start off?
So let's just go down the line on who, like by quarterbacks, wide receivers. So just go by position.
Let's break it up by. We can do it by position, sure.
Because in our thing, do we actually have it where
we have it so that it's all broken down by position. We don't actually have it by person.
So we'll just go by quarterbacks on who people have kept.
Okay, so first off, we'll start with quarterbacks. So we got Aaron Rodgers is being kept by Kevin. Johnny is keeping Peyton Manning. I'm keeping Drew Brees. And what's the other guy's name?
Colin Kaepernick?
No.
Oh, Travis.
No, it's Travis. Yeah, Travis, our new guy in the league. He's keeping Colin Kaepernick.
Now, with all these guys, there's one player that was injured a lot last year. There's a player that has had a career year, but he's really fucking old. And then we have a up-and-comer. So you can definitely tell the quarterbacks that have been kept, they have their ups and they have their downs. But there's a lot of upside in most of them.
Yeah.
Now, which one out of them wasn't Drew Brees on there?
Yeah, I said Drew Brees was on.
Okay, you said Drew. Now, Drew Brees, I think, was the safest one.
Sure, and that's solely the reason why I kept him. Is, it's quarterback. Quarterback is very deep, but he's very consistent. He's gonna give you his points. He's gonna be like top 3 every year. So it's not gonna. The nice thing about that is it's highly unlikely that he'll be a big bust. Like last year, a lot of running backs were huge busts. C.J. Spiller, Doug Martin, Ray Rice. There were a lot of huge busts in the first round last year.
And the one thing I really liked is with the Saints offense, they like to pass it around. There's not that one player. And so the one person that gets all the points is the quarterback.
Yeah.
And so I really do think that was a smart play by you to actually keep him.
Yeah.
Now, let's just look at a person like Colin Kaepernick.
Sure.
Now, we can all say that, us two, we watch a lot of 49er games.
Yeah,
now
we're in Northern California. Yeah.
So would you say that was a smart choice to actually keep him? Not just saying that there's most likely was a 49er bias up behind the pick.
I don't think it was a good. I don't know what looking as keepers who he was able to keep. Being near the league, we give him the option to potentially, not keep anyone, just have 3 early picks. But, maybe Anthony really wanted Colin Kaepernick. I know that. Maybe he knows Anthony wants him. He's going to sell him to him. And, that could be really smart if, I keep forgetting his name. What's the new guy's name?
The new guys, which one?
No, the new player who kept Colin Kaepernick and Michael.
Travis.
Travis. If Travis is keeping him to sell him to one of us, that's not a bad strategy.
Yeah, because that's the one of the things that I was wanting to do. Like this year in baseball, I went and got a couple Giants players, and I was like, I know I could sell these guys higher than what they usually would be valued, just because of the people that I'm playing with love the Giants.
Yeah, so let's kind of defend Travis's selection of Colin Kaepernick. I think that if you make the case, last year, the whole year essentially, he had Anquan Bolden. Crabtree came back at the very end. He gave him a little bit of boost, but for the most part, he had Vernon Davis and Anquan Bolden. He didn't throw touchdown passes to anyone else for the longest time. And now he's got a lot of good weapons. He has Bolden still. He got Crabtree, Vernon Davis, Stevie Johnson, and the Niners have some good young wide receivers, Quentin Patton and Bruce Ellington. Mm-hmm. So he might think, this guy can run. He can get those rushing touchdowns. He's going to throw the ball around. And, Frank Gore's getting older, so maybe they won't rely so much on the run. The 49ers offensive lines, they have Alex Spoon, the contract dispute. So I could see him potentially having it. He could potentially be top 3. I'd be shocked if it happened, but I could see kind of where he's coming from.
There's high potential, would you say?
Yeah, sure. And, I watched the game today, and they said that Cap had an injury.
He had a bone chip, right?
Yeah, bone chip in his foot or something.
And so, all of his run production, which that was everyone's banking on last year, was non-existent. And so to have that potential back, you're looking at potentially a player that could be the top 3 quarterback.
Yeah, so I think that I wouldn't have made the pick, but I don't think he's complete moron for doing. I get the logic behind it.
Yeah, and then we also had somebody keeping Peyton Manning. Now, that could easily be one of the players that you look at and you're just like, that makes sense. But he has lost Eric Decker. He has gone a year older. He still had that neck surgery, which, was one good hit. He could be done for.
Sure.
And I can understand why someone would keep him, but I can understand why somebody would not keep him.
Sure. So, let's say Peyton Manning is on your roster. You keeping him?
I would say yes.
Okay. So yeah, I agree. If you have Peyton Manning on a roster and you're in a keeper league and you're deciding this, I think almost any league you have to keep Peyton Manning. He had a career year, but if you keep him, you need to understand you're not going to get the same thing. It's just look at the numbers. There's no way he's going to have that kind of year again. He's going to give you good, solid production, and he's worthy of a first-round pick or keeping him, but just don't expect a high 50 touchdowns.
Yeah, and one of the thing is that he had so many weapons. And wasn't it, he lost, as I said before, Eric Decker? Didn't he lose his running back who he would...
Yeah, he lost Noshawn Marino, but a lot of people think Monte Ball, we'll get to him later, he's going to be really good. But, they got Emmanuel Sanders as their third receiver. And, Peyton Manning's good enough, he really doesn't
He can play with anybody.
Yeah, so...
And remember, he does have Wes Welker also.
Well, yeah, so he had a Wes Welker last year, too. And if he stays healthy, that's going to be a huge boost for him.
So we definitely say if you have Peyton Manning, you're in a keepers league. That's probably a good pick to have.
Yeah. So moving on to Drew Brees, we kind of spoke on him a little bit. You definitely got to keep him based on his consistency. He's, I'd argue he's the most consistent quarterback of the last 5 years.
Oh yes. Oh God, yeah. And also to have Jimmy Graham who says, "Once you retire, I'm retiring."
Yeah. Drew Brees isn't one of those ones where you're like, ooh, it's not a sexy pick, but he's like a solid pick.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that you want to look at for a person that you're picking up for the first round. You want that solid pick. I mean, like last year, I went for that pick that was going to have that sophomore just hurrah, going to show us what he showed in his rookie year. But I failed at that. I mean, those sophomore people, they got injured.
No, we're talking about quarterbacks right now. Though.
I know. Just I as you guys could tell, I probably get off on a little bit of tangent, so I'm sorry.
I got to reel him in.
Yeah, he reels me in. That'd be awesome though to get some little thing of like a fish guy reeling him in.
Yeah. So, and then we're gonna go to Kevin kept Aaron Rodgers, and I think that's a good pick. He's Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. They're the top 3 quarterbacks, and I say if you're in a 10-team keeper league, you got to keep all of them.
Oh yeah. And one thing I love about the Packers, because just by the way, people, I'm a huge Packers fans, is that the Packers keep their players. That they have
Except for Greg Jennings.
I know. But no, usually the people that they draft, they keep and they build. And I think that Aaron Rodgers, if he stays healthy and doesn't get injured, I think this is going to be one hell of a year for him. And I think there's so much upside to this player. I just love it, especially with the running back.
Sure. Well, Kevin and Sonny and I, we've all had this discussion is that, is it, let's say Aaron Rodgers has a stud running back. Is that kind of a good for his fantasy value because now they'll be running the ball more, he won't be throwing as much, but obviously that kind of opens up the passing game. So it's kind of like, do you want to have a really good running back when you have a good quarterback, or do you want to have like a really bad running back so you'll be throwing more? It's kind of a debate among that in our league.
And the one thing that I've noticed that some people do is like Kevin. He's the one who says, I am going to have one of the top quarterbacks. So I don't have to worry about him. And the great thing about a top quarterback, they get you points.
As long as they're healthy.
As long as they're
healthy. That's
healthy.
what happened because he went down last year.
And he suffered for it. He's the one who, he says, my cornerstone of my team is going to be on the quarterback.
Yeah, because, they scored the most points even with, all these, because quarterbacks used to get 6 points per touchdown pass. Our league gets 4 and standard it's 4. They get the most points, so I can see why that. But the thing is, the quarterback's pretty deep this year,
Yeah, because
the standings I'm looking at right now, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, he's like the 10th pick. So if you're 10th ranked quarterback, and if you're in a 10-team league and you're drafting late rounds and you draft Tom Brady, I think you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and like with Tom Brady, if he has Gronk in there, his numbers are going to go up from last year.
Yeah,
his numbers were definitely down because of Gronk. And I think that with Elderman, I think that's his name, right?
Yeah.
Elderman?
I know who you're talking about.
I think, though, with him coming into his sophomore year, I think him and Brady are going to be kind of like the Wes Welker type of atmosphere in there. I see some good things in the Patriots' offense.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Tom Brady, he's one of those quarterbacks I always thought, he can play with anyone. Same with Peyton Manning. Yeah. But, going off the other quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, Luck, Foles, RG3, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's actually, Tom Brady's at 10. So those are the top 10 quarterbacks. And according to the rankings I have here, Colin Kaepernick is the 12th rank. So it's pretty deep. And, there's a lot of good backup quarterbacks. Tony Romo, Jay Cutler, Russell Wilson, Philip Rivers, Andy Dalton. I think I'd be happy with any of those quarterbacks.
And I would advise people, like with what Travis did, where he's the one who kept not Michael Crabtree, but he's the one who kept Kaepernick, is that look at your people you're playing with. What are their favorite teams? And maybe possibly just go and sneak up and take that player from them and then just dangle it in front of them and say, do you want this?
Yeah. Well, David, I think that around our league, that's kind of been how you trade with David. Who does David have the hots for during that week?
It was like in baseball where I was just with one player. I was just like, I want his dick so bad. I mean, matter what I want.
Whoa, David, this is a family podcast.
Really?
I'm just joking.
I really want his dick, dude.
No. I've listened to some podcasts, and what I want to do is one of my favorite podcast guys. What he does is he doesn't curse a whole lot or do dirty things, because then when he actually does do it, then it becomes like that much more funny.
I really wish that you guys could have seen his reaction with what I just said. It was priceless.
Yeah. So know who people want, and if it's all about like gauging people's value. A lot of players in my league, we are in a group text, and it's good. You know, when Kevin always comes to me and he'll ask my opinion on players, you know, and I'll exchange my own honest value. And you know, he does that for a reason. You might seem like, oh, why are you relying on other